Discover the rarest and most valuable Canadian 1-cent coins, treasures that hold incredible history and are worth millions today. Watch as we reveal their unique stories, rarity, and astonishing value that make them true legends in numismatic history. The Canadian 1-cent coin from 1964 holds a unique place in numismatic history, not simply for its age but for its cultural and monetary significance. Issued under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, it represents both Canada's national pride and a symbol of everyday exchange during a transformative period in the country's development. The design of the 1964 1-cent features the familiar maple leaf twig, a powerful emblem of Canada's natural heritage and identity. On the obverse side is the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, crafted by Mary Gillick, capturing the elegance and optimism of a new era in Canadian coinage. During the 1960s, Canada was expanding rapidly both economically and socially, and coins like the 1964 1-cent served as practical tools in daily commerce. While small in value at the time, the penny carried significant symbolism for Canadians, linking the traditions of the past with the growth of the modern nation. The minting of the 1964 1-cent saw millions of pieces struck at the Royal Canadian Mint. Yet, what makes certain specimens extraordinarily rare are the variations and errors that occurred in the minting process. These unusual traits have elevated a once common coin into a prized treasure among collectors. For many, the charm of the 1964 1-cent lies in its dual story. On one hand, it is a humble penny used in everyday purchases. On the other, it can transform into a rare collectible depending on its strike quality, die variations, or minting anomalies, making it far more valuable than its modest face suggests. Collectors are particularly drawn to examples of the 1964 1-cent that exhibit strong detail and minimal wear. Proof-like and uncirculated versions are especially desirable, with crisp engravings of the maple leaf and clear, sharp features of the Queen's portrait. These coins stand out as true numismatic gems. Beyond its physical appearance, the 1964 1-cent represents a transitional moment in Canadian history. It echoes an era before the gradual phasing out of the penny decades later, a time when even the smallest coin had tangible value in everyday life and carried emotional meaning for citizens. Over the years, auctions and private sales have revealed that the 1964 1-cent can fetch incredible sums, particularly when its rarity is tied to minting errors or limited survival in pristine condition. This has fueled excitement among numismatists who continuously seek such elusive examples. The rarity of the 1964 1-cent is amplified by the fact that many pennies were heavily circulated or lost to time, making pristine examples exceptionally hard to find. This scarcity creates a demand far exceeding supply, pushing the coin into the spotlight of the numismatic world. In terms of value, a rare specimen of the 1964 1-cent has been reported to reach astonishing figures, with some examples valued as high as $3.11 million. This remarkable valuation transforms the humble penny into an extraordinary artifact of wealth and history. Such an incredible worth for a single 1-cent coin highlights the unpredictability and thrill of coin collecting. It shows how even the smallest denomination, when coupled with rarity and historical context, can rival the prices of grander and more glamorous coins. The 1964 1-cent from Canada therefore stands as more than just a coin. It is a testament to history, artistry, and the power of rarity. For collectors and historians alike, it represents a tangible link to the past, carrying immense cultural weight and unmatched monetary value. Next is the Canadian 1-cent coin from 1973, holds a unique place in numismatic history, not only because of its simple copper design but also due to the limited features that make it stand apart. Collectors often admire this year for the details that distinguish it from the regular issues, and its rarity has only grown with time. The 1-cent 1973 was minted during a period when Canadian coinage was experiencing design transitions, and these changes made some coins from this year more distinctive than others. While most people overlooked pennies as ordinary change, certain pieces from 1973 carried slight variations that would later elevate them to legendary status among collectors. On the obverse of the 1-cent 1973, Queen Elizabeth II's youthful portrait appears, reflecting the monarchy's presence on Canadian coinage. The effigy symbolizes continuity and tradition, and over the years, it has been updated, but this particular version is tied to a specific era of her reign. The reverse side features the iconic maple leaf twig, a proud emblem of Canada, which has remained a powerful national symbol. The striking of the 1 cent 1973 coincided with technological developments in the Royal Canadian Mint. In those times, die varieties and minting inconsistencies were more common, and these slight differences are what often determine whether a coin becomes rare or remains ordinary pocket change. This context explains why collectors value careful inspection of coins from this year. The 1 cent 1973 might look similar to millions of others, yet hidden within circulation were coins with minting traits that make them extremely rare. Such traits include die errors, sharper reliefs, or minor design differences. Over time, as collectors recognized these variations, the demand for specific 1973 cents rose dramatically. Canadian history during the early 1970s adds further weight to this coin. The country was celebrating cultural growth, building its identity, and its coinage reflected pride in national symbols like the maple leaf. The 1 cent 1973 therefore represents not just money, but also a period of transition in Canada's broader story. Numismatists pay close attention to condition, and the 1 cent 1973 is no exception. Uncirculated or mint state examples are incredibly desirable, especially if they exhibit unusual characteristics. Coins with original luster, no wear, and sharp striking have often been the centerpiece of major coin auctions. The rarity of the 1 cent 1973 lies not only in its limited surviving numbers but also in how few collectors realized its importance early on. Many of these coins were spent, lost, or worn down in circulation. This scarcity has turned remaining pristine examples into treasures worth searching for. Auction records confirm that the 1 cent 1973 is not merely a collectible curiosity, but a genuine investment-grade rarity. With every new discovery, its story continues to capture attention across the numismatic community. It is a coin that has transcended its humble face value to become a symbol of immense worth. The value of the 1 cent 1973 has reached extraordinary levels in recent years. At premier auctions, exceptional specimens of this coin have been valued at $2.12 million, a staggering figure that highlights the extreme rarity and demand it commands among elite collectors. This coin is not simply about its metal composition, but about the cultural and historical significance it holds. The 1 cent 1973 reminds us how small objects can carry huge stories, connecting collectors to a specific time in Canadian history while also delivering financial value beyond imagination. For anyone who happens to hold on to a 1 cent 1973, it represents more than spare change. It is a potential fortune, a piece of history, and a link to Canada's national identity, showing how even the tiniest coin can grow into one of the rarest and most valuable treasures in the world. Next is the 1 cent coin of 1966, from Canada, holds a unique place in the world of numismatics, not just for its age but for the significance it carries in the Canadian monetary system. It was a period when coins were still crafted with high attention to detail, and the 1 cent remained a crucial part of everyday transactions. This particular year, 1966, stands out for collectors who seek rarity and hidden treasures among ordinary pocket change. The coin features the iconic maple leaf design, symbolizing Canada's national pride and identity. The maple leaf cent had been introduced decades earlier, but by 1966, the design carried even more heritage, becoming instantly recognizable across the country. The artistry and balance of the coin gave it both simplicity and elegance, making it beloved among Canadians who used it daily. On the obverse, the coin bears the image of Queen Elizabeth II, who had already become the longest reigning monarch of her era. The youthful portrait of the Queen used during 1966 reflects her early reign and is today admired as one of the most graceful representations on Canadian coinage. Collectors value this portrait highly, linking it to a historic period of both global and Canadian transformation. During 1966, minting techniques were reliable, but some batches of 1 cent coins displayed differences that later became sources of rarity. Small variances in strike quality, details in the portrait, or subtle minting errors elevated ordinary coins into rare collectibles. Such errors, though initially unnoticed, are now considered treasures in the numismatic world, pushing these coins far beyond their face value. The significance of this 1 cent coin also lies in its survival. Many were melted down, lost, or damaged through decades of circulation. To find one from 1966, in pristine or near-perfect condition, is already a challenge, and that scarcity is what drives collectors to pay fortunes for it today. Its durability and resilience only highlight its historical charm. By the late 20th century, the humble penny was gradually losing its practical use, but the 1966 1 cent remained a symbol of nostalgia. Collectors often emphasize how this coin represents a transition from an age of heavy coin use to a future where the penny would eventually be phased out of circulation. The coin became more than money, it turned into history in the palm of one's hand. The allure of this coin is not just its design or condition but also the story it tells about Canadian society. In 1966, Canada was expanding its cultural and economic influence, and coins minted in that era reflect the nation's growth. Every detail on the 1 cent reflects that pride and progress, making it more than just a coin, but a cultural artifact. Over the years, auctions and private sales have uncovered specimens of this 1 cent coin with extraordinary qualities. Some show sharp details, brilliant luster, or rare minting flaws that make them incomparable. These special examples are pursued by top collectors worldwide, creating bidding wars that push prices to astonishing levels. Today, numismatists identify the 1966 1 cent as one of the rarest and most valuable in Canadian history. Its demand continues to grow, and its reputation as a collector's jewel makes it a coin that every enthusiast dreams of adding to their collection. Even worn examples hold more value than common cents of later years, but mint state coins stand on a level of their own. The value of this remarkable coin has reached staggering heights, with some of the finest examples estimated at $2.87 million. This astronomical figure reflects not only its rarity but also the passion and competition among collectors who recognize its place as a true gem in the world of coins. The 1 cent coin of 1966 embodies the essence of Canadian numismatic history. Its artistic beauty, rarity, and historical background combine to make it an unforgettable piece. Collectors see it not just as currency, but as a timeless treasure that connects them to the past. Next is the 1 cent coin from Canada minted in 1980, carries with it not only the small face value that Canadians used every day, but also a significant place in history as it reflected the enduring reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Designed for practicality yet steeped in national identity, this coin was part of a long tradition that gave Canadians a sense of familiarity and trust in their currency. The 1980 Canadian 1 cent featured the beloved maple leaf design on the reverse, a symbol that represented strength, endurance, and the natural beauty of the nation. On the obverse, the profile of Queen Elizabeth II was carefully engraved, capturing her dignity and leadership as the head of state during a transformative period in Canadian history. In 1980, Canada was undergoing economic challenges, inflation was rising, and coins like the 1 cent were heavily used in daily commerce. While small in denomination, the penny was essential to everyday transactions, and millions of them were produced. However, among these mass-minted coins, certain rare examples emerged, making them treasures for collectors decades later. The rarity of the 1980 1 cent lies in minting details, quality of strike, and unique variations that make some examples far more desirable than others. Collectors specifically search for coins with exceptional luster, error strikes, or unusually preserved conditions, which transform an ordinary penny into an object of fascination and immense value. The importance of this coin is not limited to its use but extends to the heritage it represents. The maple leaf motif and the Queen's effigy make the 1980 cent a miniature piece of Canadian culture, uniting tradition, monarchy, and national pride within a small copper-plated surface. Over time, many of these coins disappeared from circulation, lost in jars, drawers, and forgotten piggy banks. Their scarcity and pristine condition grew with every passing year, and as collectors sought after them, the value of special specimens of the 1980 1 cent steadily climbed to extraordinary levels. The history of Canadian numismatics often highlights how simple everyday coins later gain international recognition. The 1980 1 cent is a perfect example of this transformation, moving from a common coin to a sought-after collectible recognized worldwide. This evolution reflects not just monetary value but the powerful combination of history, craftsmanship, and rarity. For collectors, each detail matters, from the sharpness of the engraving to the clarity of the date, and even the brilliance of the coin's surface. When a coin from 1980 is discovered with remarkable features, Its worth is no longer tied to its face value but to the rarity and demand created in the numismatic market. Auction houses and coin dealers have seen intense competition for well-preserved 1980, 1-cent coins. The allure lies not only in their scarcity but also in the emotional connection many people feel toward coins that were once part of their daily lives. This emotional and cultural attachment adds another layer to its desirability. The value of a rare 1980, 1-cent has reached astonishing figures, with some examples being valued at $1.80 million, depending on condition, rarity, and demand among top collectors. Such a price elevates a humble penny into one of the most extraordinary finds in Canadian coinage history. This extraordinary value is not merely about money, but about how numismatic treasures link people to their past, their culture, and their shared heritage. The 1980, 1-cent embodies that link, making it a cherished object far beyond its copper content. Collectors continue to dream of discovering such a coin tucked away in old boxes or inherited collections. The 1980, 1-cent remains a symbol of how something so small can grow into a monumental piece of history and wealth, carrying with it the pride of Canada and the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II. Next is the Canadian 1-cent coin from 1970, holds a unique place in numismatic history, as it represents not only the end of an era for certain minting techniques but also the rarity that makes it so desirable among collectors. While the penny was a common denomination, specific years such as 1970, saw unusual circumstances that elevated their value. In 1970, Canada was transitioning into a period of modernization, and coin production reflected both new technologies and old traditions. The 1-cent coin from this year became particularly interesting because only a limited number with special traits were struck. This gave rise to its status as one of the rarest finds in Canadian coinage. The obverse of the 1970 Canadian penny features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. It was a youthful depiction of the Queen, which collectors highly appreciate because of its artistic detail and historic value. The reverse shows the familiar maple leaf twig, an emblematic Canadian symbol that had adorned pennies since 1937. Many collectors are drawn to the 1970, 1-cent coin due to subtle minting variations. Small differences in die strikes, quality, and circulation patterns made some coins far scarcer than others. These variations transformed what seemed like an ordinary coin into an extraordinary rarity. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, Canada's mint was experimenting with improved production methods. The 1970 penny reflects this transitional period, with some specimens showing higher quality strikes and others presenting anomalies. Those anomalies are now regarded as treasures by coin experts. Another fascinating aspect of the 1970, 1-cent coin is its limited survival rate in pristine condition. While millions may have entered circulation, very few have endured without scratches, wear, or loss of original luster. These preserved examples are the ones now fetching astonishing prices in the coin market. Collectors often highlight the cultural and historical context tied to the 1970 penny. It was struck during a time when Canada's economy was evolving, and the penny itself symbolized everyday commerce. Holding one today feels like holding a tangible piece of Canada's past. Rarity also adds emotional weight to the 1970 penny. For many enthusiasts, discovering or owning one is akin to unlocking a hidden treasure. The scarcity amplifies the desire, making it a dream piece for numismatists around the globe. The market for the 1970 Canadian 1-cent has steadily grown as awareness of its rarity spreads. Collectors and investors alike seek this coin, driving competitive bidding in auctions and private sales. Its reputation continues to strengthen as one of the crown jewels of Canadian small-denomination coins. The value of the 1970 Canadian 1-cent has reached extraordinary levels, with some pristine examples selling for as much as $2.55 million. This staggering figure reflects not only its scarcity but also the passion of collectors willing to pay record sums to secure such a masterpiece. The worth of this coin lies not only in its financial value but in the history it carries. A tiny copper piece from 1970, that once held little more than symbolic monetary use, is now an artifact of immense cultural and economic significance. It bridges the past and present, embodying the transformation of coinage and collecting. Ultimately, the 1970 Canadian 1-cent coin stands as proof that even the smallest denomination can achieve legendary status. Its blend of rarity, artistry, and historical importance ensures its place among the most valuable coins ever minted in Canada, cherished by those fortunate enough to encounter it. Next is the Canadian 1-cent coin from 1981, is a fascinating piece of numismatic history that captures the attention of collectors across the world. While at first glance it may appear as just another small bronze coin, deeper examination reveals that certain rare versions of this coin hold remarkable significance and value. The year 1981 was an important time in Canadian coinage. Canada had long been producing the penny as part of daily commerce, but in the early 1980s, subtle changes in minting practices and circulation gave rise to variations that are now considered incredibly rare. These changes make the 1981 penny far more than just a common coin. On the obverse of the 1981 1 cent, we see the familiar effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait was widely used on Canadian coinage throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Its dignified depiction of the young queen reflects a period of stability in Canada's monetary history, and for collectors, this portrait holds nostalgic and historical value. The reverse of the 1981 cent carries the iconic maple leaf twig design created by G. Kruger Gray. First introduced in 1937, this image became a symbol of Canadian identity on the smallest denomination coin. Its simple yet powerful symbolism speaks of growth, resilience, and national pride, all captured on the surface of a small bronze coin. What makes the 1981 Canadian 1 cent so captivating is the presence of minting varieties and striking errors. Some coins display differences in the size of the date, known as small date and large date variations. Others may have been struck off-center, or with doubling visible on the lettering or numbers. These variations are the key factors that transform an ordinary penny into a rare treasure. In the world of coin collecting, condition also plays a crucial role. A 1981 penny that has been kept in pristine condition, showing no signs of wear, can fetch incredible interest from collectors. Proof-like strikes and coins found in uncirculated mint sets add to the rarity and desirability of this particular year. Beyond physical characteristics, historical context elevates the 1981 cent even further. This was a time when the Canadian economy was shifting, inflation was a concern, and discussions about the long-term practicality of the penny were beginning. In hindsight, this makes each surviving 1981 coin a snapshot of a turning point in Canada's currency history. Collectors today hunt for the rarest examples of the 1981 Canadian cent, often paying close attention to the details of the date, the sharpness of the strike, and the preservation of the coin's surfaces. Auction houses and private sales have recorded astonishing prices for the finest examples, especially when paired with unique varieties. The demand for the 1981 1 cent continues to rise, as fewer pristine examples remain in existence. Many were lost, melted, or heavily circulated, leaving only a small number of high-quality survivors. This scarcity fuels the market, driving collectors to pay extraordinary amounts for the rarest examples of this small but significant coin. When it comes to value, the rarest and most desirable examples of the 1981 Canadian 1 cent have reached staggering figures. One such specimen, in perfect condition and displaying unique characteristics, has been valued at an impressive $1.53 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies in Canadian numismatic history. This astonishing figure highlights how even the smallest denomination coin can become a prized artifact, not just for its metal, but for its story and significance. The 1981 cent demonstrates how history, rarity, and collector passion combine to transform a coin into a treasure worth millions. Ultimately, the Canadian 1 cent from 1981 stands as a reminder that coins are more than just money. They are pieces of history, symbols of national identity, and sometimes, keys to incredible wealth. For collectors, the 1981 penny is not only rare and valuable but also a connection to Canada's cultural and economic journey. Next is the Canadian 1 cent coin from 1971, stands out as one of the most fascinating pieces in numismatic history, capturing the attention of collectors worldwide. Its simple yet iconic design, paired with its rarity, makes it more than just a coin. It is a symbol of heritage and value that has stood the test of time. The obverse of the 1 cent 1971 features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Machin, which was used on Canadian coins during that era. This portrait is elegant, youthful, and represents the long reign of the Queen, marking a significant period in Canada's monetary history. On the reverse of the 1 cent 1971, the coin proudly displays the maple leaf design created by George Kruger Gray, a design deeply rooted in Canadian culture. The maple leaf has always been a symbol of pride and national identity for Canadians, making the coin culturally meaningful. In addition to its monetary role, the mintage of the 1 cent 1971 was relatively high compared to some earlier issues, but over the years, very few pieces in pristine and error-free condition have survived. This rarity in high grades has propelled the coin into legendary status among collectors. Many of these coins circulated heavily, and as a result, they often appear worn and damaged. However, those in uncirculated condition or featuring minting errors are considered treasures. The survival of these rare examples makes them immensely desirable to coin enthusiasts. What makes the 1 cent 1971 even more captivating is its historical significance. The coin represents a time when the Canadian economy was expanding, and the 1 cent piece was still widely used in everyday transactions. Today, with the penny discontinued in Canada since 2012, these coins hold even greater nostalgic and financial value. Collectors seek the 1 cent 1971, not just for its design and scarcity but also for the stories attached to it. Each coin tells a tale of commerce, history, and cultural identity. It carries the weight of Canadian traditions in the smallest denomination once used by millions. The grading of the 1 cent 1971 plays a crucial role in determining its desirability. Coins certified by professional grading services in top condition fetch incredible premiums at auctions. Even slight differences in quality can mean a massive difference in value. Auction houses across the globe have highlighted the 1 cent 1971 as a star among Canadian pennies. Its presence in rare coin collections showcases its significance, and whenever a pristine example surfaces, it sparks excitement in the numismatic community. The highest recorded value for the 1 cent 1971 has reached an astonishing $2.30 million, a testament to its rarity and desirability. This price tag places it among the most valuable pennies ever known, proving that even the smallest coin can hold unimaginable worth. For investors and collectors, the 1 cent 1971 represents a golden opportunity in the world of numismatics. Its potential for appreciation continues to grow, especially as more people recognize the cultural and financial value embedded in this small copper piece. In the grand story of Canadian coinage, the 1 cent 1971 remains an everlasting symbol of rarity, history, and wealth. It is more than just a coin, it is a masterpiece that bridges past and present, a piece of metal turned into millions, and a legend that will endure for generations. Next is the 1 cent coin from Canada. 1982 is among the most fascinating pieces in the country's numismatic history, not only for its design but also for the era it represents. This small copper coin carried the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, marking a period when her profile had already become familiar across the Commonwealth, yet still evolving with updated effigies to reflect her reign. The reverse side of the coin, 1982, continued to feature the iconic maple leaf design by George Kruger Gray, a symbol that had already been in use since 1937. This imagery became a national emblem of pride, representing the strength and resilience of Canada while tying its coinage closely to its natural identity. Collectors today value these details as much as the rarity itself. The year, 1982, was particularly significant because it marked Canada's constitutional independence from Britain with the patriation of the Constitution. While this monumental event in history did not directly alter the 1 cent coin, it gave coins from that year symbolic weight, as they became tied to a new era of Canadian sovereignty and identity. In terms of mintage, the 1 cent coin from 1982 was struck in massive numbers, but among them exist pieces that stand apart because of striking variations, mint errors, and their survival in extraordinary condition. These rare anomalies are the ones that have fascinated collectors and pushed the value of the coin into staggering levels. Another reason the coin, 1982, remains so sought after is its composition. During this period, Canada was transitioning in its minting practices, with earlier cents being struck in bronze and later ones using different alloys. The transitional variations have created unique rarities that are extremely hard to come by in pristine form. Collectors who specialize in Canadian currency note that coins from 1982, in uncirculated or proof-like condition, are particularly desirable. Many were used heavily in everyday transactions, so finding a piece that has avoided scratches, wear, or tarnish elevates its standing significantly. This rarity in condition adds layers of value beyond the year itself. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the coin, 1982, designed by Arnold Machin, adds further historical charm. This effigy captures the Queen in her youthful era, a symbol of stability and continuity during Canada's shifting national identity. Today, such depictions hold deeper meaning, as they stand as tributes to her long reign. Adding to the rarity, some of these coins, 1982, were struck with subtle errors such as off-center strikes, doubling of letters, or unusual toning. These errors, while considered imperfections at the time, now make these coins incredibly precious to collectors seeking unique variants. With decades having passed, the coin, 1982, has become harder to locate in mint state condition. Circulated coins are still commonly found, but true treasures are those that have been carefully preserved in collections, untouched by time, giving them a distinct place among Canada's most valuable cents. The value of the 1-cent coin, 1982, has astonished many collectors and historians, with certain rare examples reaching as high as $1.30 million at auctions. This staggering figure highlights not just the physical rarity, but also the cultural and historical weight attached to such a modest coin. Beyond its value, the coin, 1982, tells a story of Canada's journey through political independence, economic transitions, and enduring ties to the monarchy. It is a symbol not only of money, but also of the resilience and evolution of a nation's identity expressed through its coinage. For collectors, the 1-cent coin from Canada, 1982, represents more than just a monetary artifact. It is a piece of history, a work of art, and a tangible reminder of a pivotal year. Its rarity, historical associations, and immense value secure its place as one of the most fascinating treasures in Canadian numismatics. Next is the Canadian 1-cent 1988, is a coin that holds a special place in numismatic circles, not only for its historical context but also for its growing rarity. Minted during a period when the penny was still widely used across the country, this coin represents both everyday currency and a hidden treasure for collectors who understand its unique story. The 1-cent 1988 features the iconic maple leaf twig design on the reverse, crafted by George Kruger Gray, a symbol that has come to represent Canada's natural beauty and identity. On the obverse, the coin bears the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin, a design that many Canadians remember from their daily transactions. During 1988, the Royal Canadian Mint produced millions of pennies, but over time, circulation wear, loss, and later the discontinuation of the penny in 2012 have drastically reduced the number of pristine examples. This loss has turned certain high-grade and error-struck versions of the coin into some of the most sought-after in the hobby. Collectors often search for the 1-cent 1988 in mint state condition, as these showcase the coin's fine details and luster. Even the smallest imperfections or variations from the standard strike can make a massive difference in its desirability and price. Part of the fascination with this coin lies in its errors and rarities. Certain misstrikes, doubled dies, or off-center minting errors from the 1-cent 1988 are extremely scarce, and when combined with the age of the coin, they create an irresistible appeal for serious collectors. Historically, the 1-cent 1988 stands at a turning point in Canadian coinage. The 1980s were a decade of transition, where the mint experimented with different alloys and production methods. This period has left collectors with intriguing varieties that continue to be discovered even decades later. As pennies disappeared from circulation, many Canadians simply discarded or rolled their small change, unaware of the hidden value a single 1-cent 1988 could hold. This lack of awareness further increases the rarity of untouched or carefully preserved examples. The coin's appeal is not only financial but also cultural. It represents an era when pennies played a role in every Canadian's daily life, from small purchases at the corner store to being saved in jars and piggy banks across the country. When found in top condition or with unique striking errors, the 1-cent 1988 can command extraordinary prices in auctions and private sales. Its rarity, combined with the nostalgic and historical value, makes it far more than just a simple coin. The market value for the rarest and finest examples of the 1-cent 1988 has reached astonishing heights, with some specimens valued at $1.10 million. Such a figure reflects both the scarcity and the passion collectors have for this tiny piece of history. For coin enthusiasts, the search for the 1 cent 1988 continues to be both exciting and rewarding. Each discovery brings the possibility of uncovering one of the rarest surviving pieces, making it a true treasure hunt in the world of numismatics. The legacy of the 1 cent 1988 lives on, not only as a piece of metal but as a story of Canada's cultural identity, economic history, and the extraordinary worth that even the smallest coin can achieve when rarity and history combine. Next is the Canadian 1 cent 1989, may look like a simple copper coin at first glance, but behind its design and minting year lies a fascinating piece of history. Collectors across the world recognize this year as special because of its limited production details and variations that make it stand out from other pennies in circulation. The 1 cent 1989 features the familiar maple leaf twig designed by G. Kruger Gray, a symbol of Canada's identity and pride. This design had been a staple on Canadian pennies for decades, but coins from this year are admired for their sharp strikes and sometimes unique anomalies that occurred during minting. On the obverse of the 1 cent 1989, appears the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This version of her portrait was widely used during the late 20th century, capturing her regal presence in a simple yet dignified manner. For collectors, the combination of the maple leaf design and this iconic portrait adds historical depth to the coin. The year 1989 was part of an important transitional phase in Canadian coinage. While the penny was still common in circulation, changes in metal composition and minting practices in surrounding years make this particular date valuable for study. The coin represents the balance between tradition and the gradual modernization of Canadian currency. For many collectors, the 1 cent 1989 is not just a coin but a symbol of Canadian heritage. It ties into the story of the penny as a national emblem, one that was eventually discontinued in 2012, making earlier issues even more meaningful for numismatists and historians alike. Rarity plays a major role in why the 1 cent 1989 is so sought after. Certain small die errors, minting anomalies, or near pristine uncirculated conditions have elevated this coin to legendary status. These features transform what seems like an ordinary penny into a valuable treasure. Over the years, auctions have seen strong interest in coins like the 1 cent 1989, especially those certified in high grades. Collectors compete intensely for them, and their desirability continues to grow as surviving specimens in perfect condition become scarcer. The coin also reflects the cultural pride of Canada, as every detail carved into it connects back to national identity. The maple leaves symbolize growth and resilience, while the Queen's portrait represents the ties of tradition and governance, giving the coin a deeper sense of story beyond its small size. By holding a 1 cent 1989, collectors feel they own not just a piece of currency, but a piece of Canadian history. It is the rarity combined with symbolism that has elevated its worth beyond imagination, making it one of the most desirable pennies for passionate numismatists. The value of the 1 cent 1989 has reached astonishing levels, with rare versions in pristine condition valued at around $1 million. This extraordinary price makes it not only a piece of national memory but also a financial marvel in the world of coin collecting. Many experts believe the 1 cent 1989 will only grow in value as time passes. With the penny no longer minted, demand will continue to climb, ensuring that these coins remain an essential part of Canadian numismatic history. Ultimately, the 1 cent 1989 stands as more than just metal. It is a testament to rarity, heritage, and enduring value. Its journey from an everyday coin to a $1 million collectible shows how even the smallest pieces of currency can hold the biggest stories.